Hi everyone, this is Marcus Fairs, founder and editor-in-chief of Dezeen, broadcasting live from our studio in London. And I'm joined from Stockholm by Håkan Nordin, who's head of sustainability at Bolon. Hi Håkan.
Hi Marcus.
How are you doing? And welcome to this talk, everyone, which is called Rethinking Plastic. Tell us a little bit, Håkan, about who you are, first of all, and what you do at Bolon.
Okay, I'm head of sustainability at Bolon and also part of the change in the strategic development at Bolon when it comes to sustainability. And I have I've been working my full life with sustainability. I bring it to Bolon.
And why did Bolon bring you to the company to head up the sustainability program? What is your mission at the company?
I think that the biggest mission is now to bring up design equal to sustainability at the company and really moving ahead with circularity and climate when it comes to flooring and design.
And tell us, for anyone who doesn't know, what is Bolon? What does it do? What is its history?
Bolon is an old family company. It's 70 years old. And this is third generation in family now. Two sisters, Annika and Marie, who owns it, and making beautiful designed floors.
And so Bolon makes flooring, but it's made of plastic, isn't it? It's a company that takes plastic and turns it into flooring. So I can see that there is obviously like an environmental challenge there implicit in that.
Yeah, it is. But I think it was a little surprisingly that it is, because plastic is a very resource efficient material that you can use for lots of things.
I mean, some people describe it as a wonder material. It's got quite a bad press lately, hasn't it? As if plastic is somehow responsible for the problems in the world. I'm sure we can discuss that a bit later, but what's your view on plastic? Is it an evil material that we need to remove entirely from the planet, or just something we need to use more responsibly?
No, I think, honestly, I think that plastic is a part of the solution when it comes to a less climate impact world. We need the plastic. We need the plastic in constructions. So it's a different when you talk about plastic and plastic. But construction plastic, it's a part of the solution.
And this talk is called Rethinking Plastic, and that's also the name of a program that Bolon has launched. Tell us about the program. What is it?
Yeah, we saw that we got a lot of questions from the sales team, got a lot of questions out on the markets. And then we thought we need to address this plastic issue. So we took a position on plastic, we said it, and now we bring this out to our salespeople. So how we see, because you need to discuss and put plastic in perspective, because there are bad things about plastic and fossil, and there are really good things about plastic.
And the program, the Rethinking Plastic program, what does it consist of? What are you doing as part of that program?
Yeah, what we're doing is that, as I said, we take a position. So we have made a position paper on plastic. This is our take, how we see it. And then we're trying to bring it out when we meet architects, when we meet people out there with the sales team meet. So that's basically what we're doing. And then, of course, from the other side, we will also continue with the circularity and climate within our production and changing our flooring, but continue with polymers, continue with plastic flooring.
And this is Dutch Design Week, and Dezeen has teamed up with Dutch Design Week, and we're doing a series of talks each day with young designers. But what is Bolon's relationship with Dutch Design Week? What are you doing with the week?
I have to say that my approach here was to be on the sustainability part. So I think I shouldn't talk so much about Bolon as such as the design weeks. It's out of my area. So.
Okay, but I think that as part of Rethinking Plastic, Bolon has an exhibition in Eindhoven, and it has some activities in the city as part of what's going on in Eindhoven this week. Okay, so do you want to share your screen with us and give us your presentation about what you're doing at Bolon?
Yes, I will. So now you can see it?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, so we say that we integrate sustainability in every step from raw material to use of our product. That's what we look into our value chain. We look at what raw materials do we choose, and then how will this be actually cleaned and used in offices and other environments around the world. And when you look into flooring and sustainability, it's a lot about, and we already discussed this, it's a lot about material. Because you see we're using these polymers, and we're seeing that the polymers are also very resource efficient. Because if you see when you have a floor with only 3 kilograms of material, you can have 1 square meter of floor from Bolon. So it's very resource efficient. And we have also made a statement to use recycled content in all collections. If you see in different kind of companies, branches, product, you have some kind of a red shoe collection, and you have the rest, the standard collection. But our standard is 100% recycled material. It's the same. It doesn't matter what design you choose. And then when you have recycled material, you need also to have 100% control of the content, so you don't get nasty compounds in the new product, and you don't get problems in the productions, and you don't get the problem when it comes to how the performance of the product. So this is very important, 100% control of the recycled material. And then we're also buying environmental labeled polymer raw material. And we have made product that lasts, has a guarantee of 10 to 15 years. And if you then look at what we actually contains, is around about 40% it's chalk. It's an inorganic material that we have a huge amount of on the planet. So that's the main part in the floor. And then you have the polymer, the PVC, which is 37%. And then you have the rest is non-hazardous, different kind of additives. And we have also made, if you translate this into fossil, because we have this discussion on rethinking plastic and rethinking about the fossils, if you convert this into the content in fossil and non-fossil, you actually see that we have 74% of our floor today is non-fossil, and only 26% is fossil due to this mix of content. And then you also see that we have this 20% recycled content in every collection. And now I will bring you into what we already discussed, fossil and plastic use, because if you look here, when you make plastic, you use fossil oil or fossil gas. And then you have the use discussion, and you know, Greta from Sweden, and the dialogue, the debate we have about the climate change. And that's why when we actually is burning oil and gas and coal to get energy, electricity for transport, or we get energy for electricity, we get for having transport, heating and cooling in different kind of system, industrial and housing. And this is the main problem. So the problem comes when we put fire to oil and gas. If we don't put fire to oil and gas, we don't have any climate change and any problem with them. And today, over 90% of all the oil in the world, we just fire up to get the energy. And less 5% of all oil gets to become a plastic. And then when it become a disposal plastic, we have the main problem with the waste in our seas. And that's a huge problem, and it's growing. But at the same time, we have the third leg here, when you have the construction plastic. And construction plastic is light, it's strong, it's easy to form in low temperature. You can form a plastic around in 200 degrees Celsius, but the metal, it's over 1,000 degrees, and you need energy to have the heat. So I think it's light, strong, easy to form, it's resource efficient. And it actually reduces climate change. In a modern car, there is around about 200 kilograms of construction plastic. It makes the car lighter. And when the car is lighter, it needs less petrol. When you have a wind power plant, the wings need plastic. When you have electronics like we're using now, you need plastic, and so on. So there is a construction plastics. This is so important for the modern world, and also important to reduce the climate change. I think here you have to see that we need to change how we use fossil fuels for energy. And we need to change the way we see the disposal plastic so they don't end up in the seas. I see the life with disposal plastic that are in a circular flow, and just now we actually have bottles in one of our collection, the acoustic collection. So we actually taking all bottles and make a floor of them. So you have to have these three things in your head at the same time. And the construction plastic is a good thing, and the other two we need to have dramatic change on the planet. If we then go to the climate, so we are now using, or have done in the last 8 years, 100% renewable energy in all production. We have 100% of our production in Ulricehamn, Sweden, and this makes that all our production has zero climate impact, which we are proud of. And this is possible due to that we have everything in one plant in Sweden. Many other companies has lots of plants, production facilities around the world, and then it's much trickier to get 100% renewable energy. And then you have this pair that goes so well together, perfect pair. If we increase the recycling, we in the same time reduce the climate impact. And then it comes to the chemicals. Maybe didn't say it in my base. I'm an organic chemist, so I have that with me as well. And we are also proud that our floor is 100% free from phthalates. It's 8 years ago, long before regulation, we took them away. And heavy metals is 17 years ago, we took them away, long before regulation. And we also have the best emission certification when it's come to during the use phase, the 10, 15 years when the floor is used. And then we get this, unique structure on our floors, a three-dimensional structure, but in the same time, the floor is sealed. So you can use, to 99%, use only water for the cleaning. So you have the structure, three-dimensional, but it's also sealed, so it's easy to clean. So I see what we are proud of now. We have what we have done. We have, as you see, we have cleaned away the hazardous chemicals. We have set the infrastructure in our production for circularity, so we can increase circularity. It's integrated in our production plant, the circular part of it. And now we use 20% recycled material in oil collection. And this, I said, 100% renewable energy, and with supreme durability. So this is what we have done. We are proud of it, but I'm thrilled to talk about next step, where are we going? And then I will show you our new goal that is new for 2020. And that's this one. Our goal is now to offer supreme products that's a part of circular material flows, safe for human and nature, with zero climate impact. And that's where we're heading now in the future. So we have set this vision, this long-term goal, but we need to put it also in more numbers and more crispy, you could say. So we have done that as well. And so we have said that we will now design for circularity and climate, and we have set the 50-50 goal. Our next step is to get all our floors to be 50% circular, with, and the same time, 50% less climate impact in absolute term, not relative term. And this is a really amazing and interesting goal that we now have set, that we will work towards. So the next step here now, we have 20 years of wonderful work, I would say, that we are proud of. And now we are thrilled for moving towards this 50-50 goal. And with that, I will stop sharing and we get back to the discussion with you, Marcus.
So just to be clear, so this 50-50 goal is you aim to reduce the climate impact of your business and achieve 50% circularity. Is that within any particular time frame?
Yeah, we are. I would say we are just working, but you see, if you look at the Paris Agreement when it comes to climate, you said many companies have said that they need to halve the climate impact to 2030. So I would say that we are now moving towards to rather be in 2025 or latest 2028 to have this to achieve this goal.
And what about 100% circularity and 100% zero climate impact? Is that possible, or is that just?
Absolutely. I would say it's you see, now we have, if it comes to circularity, you need to see it that it's about the input, how to source recycled material that has been already been on the planet, been used 1 or 10 times. And then after our floor is used, it will become a new floor or a new other product, but with zero waste. So you can say 100% circularity comes also with zero waste from the flooring. And that's our task. We're looking in both what we're sourcing and what's happening after use.
Mm-hmm. So it is possible to go to 100% on both those targets eventually, but you're just...
Yeah. I would say that we will see. I think if we're coming and we say we ended up in 95%, it's a tremendous achievement. So maybe there will be, or there will maybe be some residues when you're making this law. But I think aiming for 100% is the right thing to do.
And who is driving this change within the company? Is it coming ultimately from your customers, from public opinion? Is it Greta? Is it the company itself? Is it you? Where is the push coming from? Because it's not... I
think you know, the push when it comes to design, it came for the owners, from the system. We want to be ahead. And now it's coming also, we want to be having the same level in design and sustainability. So I think it's coming now also from the owners and from the management in our company. We really by heart want to do this. But you can also see from the outside, there is more and more pressure, dialogue, discussion. We see it has really changed the last, I would say, 3 years, 4 years. It has changed a lot when it's come to, we want circular floor, we want to have less climate, what's your climate footprint, and so on.
And presumably, though, you don't think that these environmental initiatives will damage the business. You would hope that they would help the business, I imagine.
Absolutely. I think it's integrated. It's sustainability and business. We're aiming for making much better business by being sustainable. That's for sure.
You talked earlier about construction plastics. You showed that very useful graph, that diagram that shows how much fossil fuel is burnt. 90%, I think you said. Yeah. 5% of that is turned into plastic, and some of that is construction plastic. How would you define construction plastic? What is that, and what is plastic that's not construction plastic? Yeah,
I think if you go into the polymer industry, there is lots of definition about this one. But construction plastic it's a more long-lived product that you use for years in some kind of construction. If it's a computer, a car, a building. So I think that counts. You have it in some kind of construction, and you're going to have a life for many years.
So I guess the opposite, the other side of plastic is kind of disposable consumer plastic. That's
exactly.
Bags and things like that.
That's true.
And do you know what percentage of plastic is used for construction purposes, and what?
Yeah, I think that if we say that 5%, less than 5% of our oil is going to plastic, I would say that around about 1% of the 5% is construction plastic, and I think 2/3 is disposable plastic.
And how we talk about recycling and reusing materials, but not all plastics can be recycled effectively, can they? And then not all of them can be recycled more than once. So with the vinyl, the PVC that you use, how many times can it effectively be used? And does it?
I think you're bringing up a very important question. Here I want also to put some time in the discussions. When we discuss the climate, we says that the world need to have zero climate impact in 2050. It's 30 years from now. And I think when it's coming to circularity, we also have to add that this is quite a long-term thing we are into. Just now, you can see that there exists, we can take back PVC in our production plant, and we're doing it, and we have tested also for post-consumer and so on. And I think we can do that more than 7 times. This 7 times is some theoretical thing that's around in different kind of articles and on the web. I think we can go even further. And we also discussed now, do you have this, the most hot topic is the chemical recycling. When you're breaking down the plastic to carbon and make a new plastic. And then I think you can go much further, but you will have some residue. So in the end, so it takes 7, 10, 15 times. But we are not there because I think just now we, as I said earlier, we have the problem with the contamination. And we have also, I think, it's quite a huge problem, how to get hold, how to source recycled materials. So we are really in a starting point. We need to have cleaned recycled material on a good market, so we really can easily buy them. Now we have to do all the work ourselves. We need to find the source and we need to check it's clean and so on, and we need to test it. And that's not the same if you look to virgin material. You can buy exactly the quality you want to exactly the price. We don't have that market on recycled material, and it needs to happen. I think that's the most important thing just now, not if it's 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 times. It can be in circle.
And how can we create systems whereby recycled plastic can be sorted more easily, recovered more easily, and then ultimately bought more easily by companies like you?
Yeah. That's. I thought this would come, as if he's talking earlier. I've been around for so many years, and I actually thought it was coming in around the millennium, but so far it's still we are struggling with finding this kind of marketplace for the recycled materials. So my guess is that we will have a much better situation within 5 years, because so many is working on it. And you have the circularity is a European Union level, you have the Circular Sweden, you have the Ellen MacArthur Foundation working with circularity. So the circularity is really building up, and more effort is bringing into it. So I hope within 5 years we have a good marketplace for sourcing recycled material.
And the circular economy and circularity is something that's being talked about a lot now, but I think some people are confused about what it means. How would you define circularity? What does it mean?
It means, I would say, it means, the easiest way is say that you produce a product with zero waste, because if it's not waste, it's a resource. So if you make sure that there is zero waste, then you have it in some kind of circle. I think a misinterpretation of circularity is that every company should bring home their own product. And that doesn't happen. If you look at a huge company like H&M, they're not bringing home to themselves. There's lots of other parties involved for this, and the material can be in a new product. An old floor don't need to be a new floor, but you need to make sure that there will be no waste. That's another way of seeing it. So there has been a resource, has been used again and again.
And also the notion of zero emissions, zero carbon emissions is being talked about a lot. But how do you define that? How is that across the whole company? Does that mean that there are no emissions, or does that mean that you do you invest in carbon sequestration or tree planting? How do you calculate zero carbon across?
We there is, when it comes to carbon, there is lots of ways of doing that, but the most de facto standard is the greenhouse gas protocol that is used widely, and part of that we use. But then we have this environmental product declaration, so we actually have the footprint from all our products today. So then we can see that 80% of our climate impact is coming from the raw material, and then you can make actions on raw material. And when it's come, I think the good thing is in your question is that you need always to set some kind of system boundaries. Where does it start? And we have said the system boundaries is, first of all, is the product. It's the product that we want to have zero climate impact on. So the floor that our customer is buying, and it's from the raw material till after use of the product that will be set in this. But the product is crucial.
In terms of plastic, you said that construction plastics can reduce climate change. How does that work? How can a plastic, that seems counterintuitive to a lot of people, that plastic come?
Yeah, I think if you take this example by the car, the heavier a car is, the more gasoline it's need. The lighter it is, the less petrol it needs. So now you're bringing when you're bringing in 200 kilograms of plastic in the car, you take away a lot of heavier material. So you get a lighter vehicle, and when you have a lighter vehicle, less energy and less climate impact. And when it comes to the digitalization, like we are doing now, then you need the plastic in the electronic components that make this digital world happening. And then you have, when you're in digitalization, you're talking about dematerialization. So by having this as a digital, as we do now, instead of you and I meeting in London or in Stockholm, when you have a physical meeting, you need also to have the energy for taking us from A to B. So dematerialization is digitalization, and digitalization, you have plastic, and plastic is crucial. I think we can't build electronics without the plastic, and we need also plastic in cars. And then we're coming to the wind power plant. The wings would be much heavier, or impossible to build so big wind power plant as we're doing today. It's only possible with the polymer materials, and also the solar panels, polymer material. So if you look in the modern world, it's a lot of polymer material that will help us reduce climate impact. That's for clear. That's for sure.
So in other words, plastic allows you to create products and electronic systems that themselves are more efficient and require less fossil fuels to run, or
yeah, I think both. First, you have less energy because they are as a carbon less better, but you also have this the dematerialization itself, that they're actually doing things without material. For example, I love to listen to Spotify, but today I do it without material. There's no plastic piece. There's no plastic piece that are sold or travel around the world. But I get the music without material. That's dematerialization.
And also, I guess construction plastic is plastic that is a use of fossil fuel that doesn't require burning it. But this is something that's always fascinated me, actually. When you turn fossil fuel, you take it to the distillation plant.
Yeah.
Can you take oil or gas or coal and either make plastic or make gasoline, or do the two products happen at the same time? Are they the same part of the same?
No. You can make only plastic. I think here it comes also because if you see from the fossil industry, oil and gas, they are now in a situation where 90% need to change. The last 5% when you make chemicals, medicine, maybe something to use against the vaccine for corona. It's oil based when you build it and so on, and then you have the plastic. And this part need to develop. So we are in a situation where the oil industry, we can use more of these things, but we have to take away the 90% part of it, and that's a good thing. And so it's not, they don't come together. So there's a long answer, but no, you can make plastic and chemicals without making petrol.
Okay. And what about alternatives to plastic? What about different materials? There's a lot of people are talking about bioplastics or entirely new materials that have the qualities of plastic. Do you see any future for? Yeah,
we see now that there is the word bio is really a positive word that is used more and more. But what you're seeing today is that 99% of all the plastic coming from the fossil base today, and 1% comes from tree or crops. I think that we are in a situation where we need our forest to be a part of biodiversity. We need our forests to grow so that they can take care of climate change, to take care of the carbon from the atmosphere. And then we also need, we're seeing a shift that we use more and more bio fuels in cars. So then we need the trees or the crops for that as well. And then we also need them in more and more building. We're building more wood house and so on, more wood construction. So there'll be a competition when it comes to what we grow and how we use it. And then I can see that we have a perfect resource that it's oil. And if we use the oil in a circular material flow, I think it's very efficient to use it. And we don't have the competition with the forest and the crops. I think I have one more thing about is that today we don't, if you compare it with metals, there's no problem today to dig up the metals from the ground and then use them and reuse them. And there is no difference to dig up fossils from the ground and reuse them and reuse them, as long as we don't fire them, put fire on them.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. So plastic, fossil fuels should be treated more like metals and used in the same way as metals. Interesting. And what about engineering fossil fuel plastics so that there's less of a pollution problem by sort of making them biodegradable or compostable? Is that possible? Would it be possible?
Yeah. It happens today, but you see, here comes that we don't want to make a biodegradable floor. We want to make a durable, long life floor. So from our perspective, it's not good. For other perspective, when you, for example, have plastic in diapers, it would be maybe perfect that you can compost them. But the plastic industry or the plastic sourcing recycled material will also struggle if you have a stream of compostable plastic, and then you have the durable plastic, and then you mix them. You're going to be in a tricky situation. So you have to be careful with this. So, and I think also that I prefer to see the more circularity of the atoms instead of the composting of them.
And you mentioned earlier about sort of chemical recycling of plastic. Is that the same as green chemistry? I've heard people talking about green chemistry as a new way of taking a material, taking it back to its elements, and then reassembling it for future use.
Yeah, it can be. The green chemistry is used in lots of different ways. It also can be you use green chemistry when it comes to say non-hazardous chemistry for nature and people. But no, I think I lost it. You said the green chemistry once more.
Yeah, you mentioned about, I think you were talking about chemical recycling, ways of recycling plastic that were non-mechanical. So instead of crushing them up, melting them, you use chemistry to, I suppose, separate them back to their original elemental properties. Tell us a little bit more about.
It's like I think if you compare, I don't know if it's a good comparison, but you saw the Nobel Prize in chemistry, this DNA scissor that you could cut in the DNA and people. So if you have a system that when you're having your polymer, which is a long chain of carbon, and if you have a chemical way to cut it down in pieces again, and then you can make a new perfect product, like you make a new metal product that is the same property as a virgin one, like you have with aluminium. So that's how to find this scissor and the process, how to cut it in pieces, and then we can have it as a raw material for new polymers. So that's basically what the chemical recycling is about. It had been talked about for so many years, but still it has happened in very small scale and very expensive scale. So I really hope that we will have a change here, and maybe a Nobel Prize for having that as well.
And you mentioned that Bolon uses 100% renewable energy. Is that wind farms? Is it solar? Is it
hydroelectric power? Because we are in a situation where in some kind of our production, we need to have such amount of energy at the same time. So the only renewable energy source that was working for us was the hydroelectric power plant.
And you buy that from the grid, or you have your own supplier?
We buy that from the grid, but we are just now also investigating how to put the solar panel on our roof or our building. So we have our own energy.
Scandinavia seems to be leading the world in terms of transforming industry towards more sustainable footings. Why is that, do you think? I mean, think about Vestre, for example, in the furniture world. They've also got a, a zero carbon emissions factory. What is it about Scandinavia that's showing us all the way?
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought about, and I think it's maybe not. It's more balanced than that. If you look for example in US, you can see that the US is such a vast country, so they are maybe the worst and the best. And if you look, for example, in the west side of US, I think there is, when it's come to climate change, renewable energy, and so on, they are one of the best in the world. So I think the Scandinavian is good in many aspects, but just now I think you have South Korea, you have China, you have US is doing also lots of really important things.
So the US.
I was maybe more humble and I broadened it up, but I see that happening now. And when it's come to climate, we rarely discuss that maybe the biggest polluter is also two countries that are also doing a lot to change it.
Sorry, say that again.
The biggest polluters, China and US, is also doing so much for the change, for the positive change.
Yeah, it's interesting that you think the US is doing a lot of work, because I think we've come to see the US as the bad boys in terms of.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because when I was started working with sustainability, it was lead in the fuel in the petrol. And then the first one who took away the lead in the petrol was California in US. So you have a part of US that is really driving progressive when it comes to sustainability. And then you have other parts in US that is actually, as you're saying, one of the worst.
And so you're Bolon's head of sustainability, and I was looking at your CV earlier. I mean, you really have a lot of credentials from the sustainability world. Tell us about your career. Tell us about the organizations you've worked for and the work you've done before.
Yeah, I'm coming from the northern part of Sweden, and I'm an organic chemist. But then I saw that saw Greenpeace on TV, and so I would like to work for Greenpeace. So and then I had the opportunity to build the Greenpeace organization in Sweden in the 80s, and there was 5 great years. And then I also moved to Amsterdam and worked for developing Greenpeace International. And then I said to myself that there need to be environmental consultant on board, because they didn't exist. So in 1990, I started one of the first environmental consultant firms in Sweden, and I've been working with IKEA, with H&M, with the county authorities in Stockholm, with the city of Malmö, and I've been working with all kinds of environmental labeling system, the EU flower, the Nordic Swan, the TCO label for electronics, and so on. So I have had a privilege to that what I have done, and I've also been an advisor for the Swedish government when it comes to sustainability. So it's been a great 30 years of sustainability, and now I'm proud and glad to be at Bolon and heading towards circularity and low climate impact.
And for many people of my generation, I think we think back to the 80s and 90s and the activities that Greenpeace was doing, particularly when it had its ships and it was going and interrupting fishing fleets and so on. That was, to many people, the first environmental activism we witnessed. That must have been a really exciting time.
It was such an exciting time, and I learned so much. I think I can use what I learned every day. Being a campaign leader in an organization like Greenpeace, being head of this kind of direct action, being in charge of it. And I've been involved or been in charge of over 20 Greenpeace action. And that's something that you learn a lot from. How do you build such a campaign? How do you perform it? And when it's going live, it's really live. There's no going back.
And how do those days compare to now? I mean, obviously the highest profile climate campaigner is your fellow Swede, Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
What tools, if you were working for Greenpeace today, what tools would you be using to raise public awareness and change opinions? Would you still be sending ships out to sea, or would you be doing Facebook campaigns, or what techniques are relevant?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. sometimes I think about what would I do if I'm going into an organization like Greenpeace. But I think that you need to be, when you're doing a Greenpeace action, I think it's about some you didn't expect coming. And I think also you need to have this kind of activity that is an action and not a demonstration. If you have a banner on a 200-meter chimney, it's still a demonstration. So I would see this when you're doing some kind of action, show action, and surprise. I think it's quite important also when you're doing action. And I think you can do that in a lot of ways today. And I know, you know, the Greenpeace Germany, they actually produced the first chlorine-free magazine, and then distributed. And it was called Das Plagiat instead of Der Spiegel. And I think that's kind of activity. And they show that you could make a beautiful magazine without the chlorine bleaching. And then the same Greenpeace Germany did that. They said that now we're going to make refrigerators without the CFCs, and they did, and put it on the market. So I think that's things that's showing actions that it goes, and not the demonstration, not the banner. But having said that, I would say that the demonstration that Greta has done is tremendous.
And you said you've been working with some very big companies like IKEA and H&M, who are already known for their well, at least they publicly profess to be interested in sustainability. But what about the other big corporations in the world of big business? Is there a willingness to change, do you think, or is there still a battle to be had there to get the big?
I don't know if it's the fourth or fifth wave when it comes to sustainability, because as we spoke about the 80s, it was a wake-up call. We started, and then when we worked, we had all the companies against us, and it was a fight. And then it started to be all the companies has their sustainability department, they have the policies, they have the ISO 14001 and so on and so on. But still, it was happening on the side. It was not integrated in the business. And what I'm seeing now is that more and more, maybe it's also that there coming new leaders in the companies, that the sustainability is really becoming integrated and a part of business where it need to be if you're going to have some long-term effect. So I think I'm really looking forward, or I'm so glad that the change is happening. That from having a nice greenhouse on the side to the company, this is the environmental department, to have it more and more integrated, as we have at Bolon as well. I'm a part of the management team and so on, and we're supposed to make this pure business, but also sustainable. And I think that's a wonderful change. So I would see more and more companies actually moving into that. And I thought if you saw the British Petroleum said this summer, I think it was forgotten in the Corona discussion, because they said that the asset that they have in the ground, they in the balance sheet, they said now it's worth less. We talked about the stranded asset, and suddenly BP is bringing it into the balance sheet in the economics, and actually proving that it's stranded asset. So we see this kind of change all over. I would say I'm very positive. Working with over 30 years in sustainability, and I see lots of things happening, good things.
So I was going to ask you if you're optimistic, but I think you just answered that question already. So we have one question I'm going to ask from the audience in a minute, but finally, people who are watching this from the design world, small design brands, maybe independent designers, students, what is your advice to them? What can they do to make their own businesses more sustainable? If you're a young designer and you want to change the world in an environmental way, what can you do? Where can people go for help? What should they be doing? What are your tips?
Yeah, I think first of all, you can say that these two huge thing now is circularity and climate, and they will not go away. So think about the resources, the waste, the function of the product, of what you're doing, and also the climate impact during the value chain. You need to have that the part when you design, you need to have that with you. That's the first thing. The other thing is that where and how will this happen when if you are a young designer? That's a trickier one. I see that now that more and more, I think the business school is doing more on the sustainability thing. I think that's really, really good. The more technical high school, the industrial economics programs, there I think you have more and more good things coming up when it's to join that part. The business school, the industrial economics programs, and so combined with what to say being designing and so on. I think there you can have a good mix, and not finding a chemist like me, because because that was the only path into the business when I started, because I was a chemist and I was a born environmental expert, and that's not true, because a chemist is a chemist. But now you're seeing that you're bringing in this in lots of other programs.
I said to you before we went live with this talk that we ask our audience if they have any questions, and either we get no questions or we get lots of questions. Well, just to prove me wrong, today we've got one question.
Okay.
I'll ask you, and it comes from Trading for Development. And this question popped up when you were talking about recycled plastic and the difficulties of getting clean or pure plastic, or separating different types of plastic out. And the question is there a market for this clean plastic, and who is working on this? And I guess this is a question about the whole recycling industry and the difficulties with sourcing, and also that sourcing affordable recycled plastic, because they can tend to be much more expensive than virgin plastics.
I see if you see now, there need to be a development of a marketplace so you can source the recycled plastic, and then you need to have the marketplace, you need to have the definition of the plastic, and you need to have the safe from contamination, and you need to have this happening so you really can buy them and compare them on a compatible market like you do with virgin materials. And this is the most important thing now. This must happen. And I think that the biggest challenge maybe lies within the plastic, because when it comes to iron, steel, copper, aluminium, we have it for so many years. The problem with aluminium and copper and so on is that there has been you can't say that I want to buy recycled copper. You buy copper, and then there's a portion of it is recycled. So I want to see there also the market, that you have the recycled market, the sourcing recycling material and sourcing virgin material, and they have the good marketplace for both of them.
Okay, Håkan, thanks so much for your time and expertise today. Say hello to the Bolon sisters for me.
I will.
Good luck with your mission to reduce your CO2 emissions and your waste as part of this Rethinking Plastic project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcus.